Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast in association with Boylesports, Gowran Park Racecourse, EJ Menswear and Shamrock Thoroughbreds.
As they race up the hill towards the finish, Hart the Herald here on Perry Pass has absolutely bolted up under Paul Townend. On Perry Pass won by wide margin. On the final 150 yards, it's Irish point for Marie National, who's coming with every stride. They're going to the line. Irish point, Marie National on the near side.
If you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, as it helps to get horse racing content out there to the wider audience. We look forward to reading all your hashtag 5cast selections in the comments section below. Enjoy the show.
Boylesports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest edition of the Champ.ie podcast, where we've got Season 6, Episode 19 coming your way as we look ahead to the Dublin Racing Festival in the company of the Racing Post David Jennings and our very own Barry Doyle. And a big thank you to our sponsors, of course, Gowran Park Racecourse, Boylesports, EJ Menswear and to Shamrock Thoroughbreds. And well done to Stephen Thorne and his winner at Dundalk again last night, having a 1-2. High time you won, getting over the winning line. Lads, great to have you on this week, David Jennings. Great to have you. And of course, later on in the show, we're going to hear from our very special guest this week, Declan Queally, whose horses are absolutely in flying form. He's got some big chances as well at the DRF this weekend. But lads, let's start off by going through a little quick fire round. David Jennings, we'll start off with you as our special guest this week. Lossiemouth or Stateman, and why?
Oh, Lossiemouth. I was surprised. Another betting firm priced us up what Paul Townend had ride, and it came into our Racing Post WhatsApp group, and I seen, there's a firm betting on who Paul Townend would ride, and I had said earlier in the week on the same WhatsApp group that surely it was 1 to 10 that he'd ride Lossiemouth, and Lossiemouth wasn't even favourite in the market. So maybe Paul Townend is thinking differently to me, but I can't see how he couldn't ride Lossiemouth. She's odds on for a reason. She is Constitution Hill's biggest threat in the champion hurdle, I'd say. And I think she'll win. So I think Paul Townend will ride her, and I think she'll win. So it's Lossiemouth for me.
And Barry, would you be of the same thought in that Lossiemouth or Stateman?
Very much in her camp still. I think he'll ride her because I think she's probably the most likely champion hurdle contender. Stateman, at his best, couldn't beat Constitution Hill. He's been beaten by Brighter Days Ahead already. Lossiemouth, there's still more to come.
Yeah, okay. And then David Jennings, Gallop in the Champ or Fact to File?
I Gallop in the Champs. Leopardstown, is his real playground. Like he's unbeatable at Leopardstown, and they'll obviously try different things on Fact to File. And if he settles, he has a better chance of getting closer to Gallop in the Champs. But just with the rain earlier on the week as well, I think it's going to help Gallop in the Champs. It has got into the ground a little bit. It's going to be slightly slower, I'd say, than we envisaged. So I'm very much in the Gallop in the Champs camp.
Barry?
Yeah, he's 6 from 7 at Leopardstown. Seems to really bring out his best performance. Hard to believe, actually, a horse that's won 2 Cheltenham Festival Gold Cups. His best performances have probably been at Leopardstown, And, I think Fact to File, it's probably still going to be about education with him. If he settles that a little bit better, might give him a chance of, shaping up into a Gold Cup contender and maybe possibly reversing the form come March. I'd say they're gearing up to one day with Fact to File. Don't know what Dave thinks about this. Dave, what do you think? Ryanair Chase? Lots of people are talking about Fact to File for the Ryanair. I still see him as a Gold Cup contender myself.
Yeah, well, the Gold Cup contenders are dropping like flies at the moment, aren't they? Even Grey Dawning, I think, a sidestep in the race. Jerry Colomb, we haven't seen, is likely to go straight there and might run over hurdles. So there's going to be very little run against Gallop in the Champs. I think with Fact to File, it all just depends on this. This is everything with regard to what the target for Fact to File is going to be at Cheltenham. If he ruffles the feathers of Gallop in the Champs again and gets within 2, 3, 4, put it this way, right? This is how I price it up. I would say if Fact to File is beaten 4 lengths or less, guaranteed to go for the Gold Cup. If he's beaten kind of 4 lengths, 5 lengths into double figures, guaranteed to go for the Ryanair Chase. That's the way I look at it. I think JP will want him to run in the Gold Cup once he's got a chance of beating Gallop in the Champs. But if he's absolutely hammered again, I can't see how he'll run in the Gold Cup against Gallop in the Champs. So I think it all depends on this.
Yeah, and David, if I could just ask you, of the shorties on the card this weekend, we've got the likes of Gaelic Warrior, Marshborough, Ballyburn. Which of these do you think is most exciting, and which one of them maybe is most vulnerable with ground conditions, etc., for the weekend?
Which do I think is the most dependable? And this is going to sound utterly bizarre because you couldn't depend on them. But of the three you've mentioned there, I think Gaelic Warrior is the most dependable this weekend. I will be taking the other two on, potentially taking the other two that you mentioned on. I think with Gaelic Warrior, I think we saw a different Gaelic Warrior at Christmas, a more relaxed, more manageable, popping fences Gaelic Warrior. That's a Gaelic Warrior I don't think I've seen. We kind of did see it a little bit in the Arkle, but he still let rip at a few fences, whereas it was almost like an education at Christmas with him. I think you're going to see a pretty explosive performance from Gaelic Warrior at the weekend. And you'll probably find out later in the show, but I'm against Majborough. I think Majborough is way too short for what he's done. Even on Racing Post ratings, he got a mark of 151 for the beginner's chase. He won at Fairyhouse. Il Atlantique got 159 for beating Firefox at Naas in what I thought was probably the best novice chase in Ireland this season. You've got In the Pocket was in there, Firefox in there, Il Atlantique over Trip Too Short, absolutely battered him. I think Il Atlantique is a different horse over fences than he has been over hurdles. So I think he's underrated, and I think the market is really underrating him as well. So I'd be with Il Atlantique against Majborough, who could be anything, but he's priced as though he's Sergino, and I don't think he's Sergino.
And for you, Barry, what are you looking forward to of those three we just mentioned, the shorties this weekend?
I actually thought Majborough is probably the most exciting, well, the horse I'm most excited about to see all weekend, Dave. I thought he's absolutely brilliant to jump. We saw that in, of course, Fairyhouse 4 out. He took your breath away, how he absolutely winged the 4 out. And what he done from the back of the last as well, the way he opened up under hands and heels from Mark Walsh, that was very, very impressive. But, I think there's a couple of things with Majborough. What he done in such a short space of time last season, obviously, Willie Mullins, he'd one run at Leopardstown and went to the Triumph Hurdle. Willie Mullins after the race, and he couldn't believe he didn't go off favoured, which is incredible to think that a horse can have one run, not win, and go off favoured for a Triumph Hurdle. That was obviously what Willie Mullins thinks of the horse. The juvenile form has worked out brilliantly. Looking at the Irish Arkle, we've had no 5-year-old winner of the race since the Dublin Racing Festival. So a couple of trends maybe against them. He's in receipt of a small bit of weight, I think £2 from the others. I don't think he'd even need £2 here. I think he'll win. And if you're asking me which of the novice chasers I'd be with, 4 to 6 Majborough, 4 to 6 Ballyburn, I know which way I'd be leaning in the novice chase department. Majborough, I think he's a rival for Sergino, incredibly.
Right, well, let's move on. And don't forget, on the show this week, our very special guest is Declan Queally. He's got some really good chances in Dublin, in Leopardstown this weekend at the DRF. And of course, that is coming later on in the show. Right, for you, our listeners, our 5 races that we want you to get involved in the 5-cast with your selections and put in your comments below are the Nathaniel Lacey Novice Hurdle Grade 1 on Saturday, the Spring Juvenile Hurdle Grade 1, the Ryanair Handicap Chase, and then on Sunday, it's the O'Driscoll Handicap Chase Grade 3 and the Handicap Hurdle Listed Contest at 350. So let's get straight into it, gents. And Barry, I'm going to kick off with you because the 115 on Saturday at Leopardstown is the Grade 1 Novices Hurdle. What wins it?
Sure, let's spoil it, Dave. Nat pick of the weekend, Final Demand. I absolutely love the way this horse won. He bullied them down at Limerick. The second and the third have both come out and won since. He's won by 50 lengths. Obviously, he was yielding to soft ground at Limerick. Dally Mullins rode on that occasion, but I just loved, I loved the way he went through the race, the way he travelled, the way he settled, and the way he jumped as well. He really attacked his hurdles. Stepping up in trip a furlong here, I don't think is going to be an issue. I think he's Boodles of Stanima, but I think equally, he's very, very classy individual. I think Danny did say that he's plenty of pace. I'm advising 12 to 1 for the Turners. I think Boylesports still have it on the website. I think he might go the shorter distance at the Cheltenham Festival after winning this. Interesting, the Nathaniel Lacey, the last 5 winners of the race have all went on. The last 7 winners, should I say, the Nathaniel Lacey have all went on to finish in the top 5 at the Cheltenham Festival. So it tends to be a race that throws up a good horse. Dancing City won it last season. I think Final Demand, Nat pick of the weekend. I have to say, I'm really excited to see him. Him and Majborough, they would be my 2.
Yeah, okay. David Jennings, love to hear your opinion on this 115 contest Grade 1 on Saturday.
I thought he was very short. I really did. He's priced up as though he is something really special already, and we don't really know that he is. I know the form from Limerick has worked out quite well, but like the form of his point to point is, to say it's shocking would be an understatement. Like the second horse went to Dave a pipe and can barely put one foot in front of the other. The third horse has been bitterly disappointing as well for Rebecca Menzies and is rated 93 over hurdles. Now he absolutely bolted up, and obviously you can't judge him by his point to point, judge him by Limerick. But if you're taking, 7-4 or shorter about a horse in this race, you kind of want to be pretty sure that he is an absolute star. Obviously, Barry is pretty sure that he is a star, and maybe he is. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if he won. But I am shocked at the price at the moment. I think there's so many ifs, buts, and maybes in here. The one that I think is guaranteed to give his running, he mightn't win, but I think Sounds Victorious will definitely be in the first three because he's the strongest stayer in the race. I can see him really, and in this race, it's the first race of the Dublin Racing Festival, and it's the first race of a huge weekend. Adrenaline is up. It's like the Supreme at Cheltenham. They're going to go quick. And I just think that'll play into the hands of Sounds Victorious. I think he's the one that's going to be finishing. Sean O'Keefe has got some terrific rides over the weekend. It looks like he's the number 2 for the weekend in the Mullins camp rather than Danny Mullins. And Sounds Victorious got a massive chance. If Jasmine DeVoe up and trip jumps a bit better, I think he's got a squeak as well. He's been bitterly disappointing, but his cheek piece is on for the first time, and could see him really troubling Final Demand as well. And the one who looks far too big of a price to me is your special guest runner, Mozzie's sister. Mozzie's sister, to me, is made for this race. I just thought at Limerick, 2 mile 7 on Christmas ground at Limerick. I know it was quicker than usual, but she made her ground wide, turning for home, travelled as well as anything, travelled better than the Big Westerner, traded, I think, maybe 5-2 in running, and then I thought just got outstayed by the Big Westerner. Like, her form tied in with the yellow clay is as good as any of those others tied in with the yellow clay. So I think Mozzie's sister, if you're getting maybe 14-1 about her, I think she's got a big chance. I think there's plenty there to take on Final Demand with. Look, if Final Demand is the star that Barry thinks he is, I think he will obviously win. But if I was to put forward a selection, probably just Sounds Victorious, but I wouldn't put anybody off having a nibble each way on Mozzie's sister at 14-1.
Yes, absolutely. And the Spring Juvenile Hurdle, it's a grade 1 at Leopardstown as well. Hello, neighbour here for Gavin Cromwell. This is my nap pick of the weekend. Maybe I'm mad in such a race, but I thought the performance of this horse, I think there could be plenty more improvement to come. David Jennings, your thoughts on it?
Oh, I fancy nothing. I can't make my mind up. And I know that sounds stupid coming on here and saying, you don't have a strong fancy in a big race at the Dublin Racing Festival. I just think with St. Lucy, she's given one piece of form where she could be exceptional, but we just don't know enough about her yet. The vibes from the camp seem to be really strong. I'd very much be St. Lucy over Lady Vega Allen. Of those two, Willie Mullins and Paul Townend has obviously picked St. Lucy as well. With Hello Neighbour, I think there's loads of improvement to come. Interesting that he's got a hood on for the first time as well. He was very keen in the early part of his race at Leopardstown, but as you said, to kind of dig it out the way he did, having probably not jumped as well as he can and not kind of settled as well as he can, it was a ringing endorsement to his ability, really. And if pushed, Dave, I would be in your camp. I'd be in the Hello Neighbour camp. This personally would be a no-bet race for me because, put it this way, if Hello Neighbour was beaten by St. Lucy and St. Lucy was second or third favourite for the Triumph Hurdle afterwards and about 5-2 or 7-2, you wouldn't be shocked. Do you know that kind of way? I think Hello Neighbour is the most likely winner, and I think if he does settle, he probably will win, but I'm not as confident as you. But I wanted you to tell me why you fancy him so much, because you're a far shrewder judge than you let on, Dave Byrnes.
Yeah, I don't know about that now, David, but just was impressed. I think you touched on a number of points there as how it jumped and travelled last time. I think, the team at Gavin Cromwell, they have a way of learning from horses when they win and when they lose. And I think they'll have learned plenty from that performance. And I just think he can eke out the sufficient improvement to be really, really competitive in this. And I think he'll go very, very close on Saturday. Barry, love to hear your thoughts on this one.
I really am keen on Lady Vega Allen here, Dave. I thought Paul Townend, it's interesting. Willie Mullins has won this race 6 times in the last 10 years. And I thought the most interesting part of that was 4 of the last 6 winners for Willie Mullins, Paul Townend has actually made the wrong choice and he's gone with St. Lucy here. So sometimes with these younger horses, these juveniles, it can be tricky. It can be a tricky decision for Paul Townend, and there mightn't be much between them, basically, is the point I'm making. Lady Vega Allen, though, the headway she made from 3 out at Leopardstown at Christmas and the ground she made up, I thought was quite eye-catching. And I'd say another couple of yards, she definitely would have got up to beat Hello Neighbour. Jumping was slicker. I think the last 2 winners of this particular contest were fillies as well. So she's getting weight. And I have to say I was quite keen. And I think there could be a little bit of politics involved here in terms of Paul's decision, but to ride St. Lucie. But for me, I'd have Lady Vega Allen well ahead of St. Lucie so far on the track.
Yeah, it's a very, very intriguing race. There's no doubt about it, right? But let's move on, Barry. And I'm going to come to you on the listed contest, the handicap chase, the Ryanair handicap chase. We were talking earlier this morning before we started recording that I personally feel that Shanbally Kid, there could be a very big race in this. With ground conditions maybe going to be on the slower side, it might just give Shanbally Kid in around a 9-2 chance with Boylesports for this one. But it's Midnight It Is who's favoured at 4-1.
Yeah, it's an interesting race, and unexposed types here, have a good record in this. And just looking at some of the stats, all of the last 7 winners were 7-year-olds or younger. So, horses that are still in their novice season, horses that maybe second season novice as well, tend to have a good record in the race. And the unexposed one I like in here is Facile Mode. For Tom Mullins and Danny Mullins, who teamed up, of course, in the opening contest on Goffs Thyestes Day with Carl River. And I think they have a good chance in here with Facile Mode. Don't forget this horse went off single figures for graded hurdles such as the Royal Bond at Fairy House. He's only £5 higher. The handicapper's only given him £5 more over fences than his hurdles mark of 130. And I just thought he could be on a decent mark here. Don't forget he beat Touch Me Not on Chasing Debut at Punchestown, and he went, people were talking about him as a potential rival, of course, in the Henry VIII at Sandown before. He was disappointing at that occasion, and that was after, of course, winning at Punchestown, a Grade 2 company, a race that Facile Mode actually fell in. So 135, there could be wiggle room off that. Danny Mullins on board. He's Mr. Dublin Racing Festival, isn't he, Danny Mullins? How many Grade 1s did he win last year at the festival? I think we all lost count, but Facile Mode, just its 4th start over fences, handicap debut, I thought could be reasonably well treated off 135. So that's the one for me at 7-1. And
for you, David, what do you think of this one?
I like one in this. Yeah, I really like one in this. 11-1 with Boylesports. I'm all over Captain's Nephew for Philip Rothwell and Tiernan Power Roach. For a couple of reasons. First of all, when you go through the race, obviously Midnight It Is, you can certainly see the case for Midnight It Is. Shanbally Kid, to me, jumping in a handicap with proper proven handicappers over this trip, I could see his jumping falling to pieces. I thought he jumped deplorably at Fairy House last time. Off a mark of 125, he is absolutely, if you told me that he wouldn't make a mistake here, he's a good thing. Absolute good thing. But I just can't see how he's going to get every fence spot on here. And I just think when he does step up and trip, maybe something like the plate at Cheltenham might suit him. And maybe they're just trying to get his jumping better over a shorter trip. So when he does step up and trip, he'll be more in his comfort zone because he is really well handicapped off 125. But going back to my selection, Captain's Nephew, to me, at Fairy House last time, in a race that was every bit as competitive as this, to be honest with you, I thought maybe it was even a stronger heat, the Dan and Joe Moore Memorial Handicap Chase at Fairy House a couple of weeks ago. He went after Rebel Gold. Connor Smithers rode Rebel Gold this day, who I gave a squeak to. And he went lickety-split, attacked every fence, pinged everything, basically. And Captain's Nephew was the one that went after him. And kind of Tiernan Power Roach kind of had him caught by the second last. And then he kind of ended up there. And I think if he had his time again, maybe he just wouldn't have went after Rebel Gold the whole way because he chased too fast of a pace. And it set up for those that were kind of held up. The likes of, Pat Daru came from off the pace. Midnight It Is finished 3rd, came from off the pace. I know the King of PRs was relatively prominent, but still came from a little bit off the pace. So Captain's Nephew, to me, chased too fast of a pace, was still only beaten 5 lengths. And I thought he was value for finishing much closer. It's his 3rd run since the summer. So he ran at Ballon Road where he didn't stay in the Mayo National. Then he went to Navan on his comeback in December, where he shaped well for a long way there as well. But he had a 2nd run down at Fairy House. So this is his 3rd run after a long layoff. I think he's going to be absolutely flying fit for this. He's off the same mark of 131. He's got some really good back form from last season. And the more I see of these kind of 2-mile handicap chases in Ireland, they're not a great crop, either in Ireland or England, actually. They're not a great crop. But what you need to do is you need to travel and you need to jump. And I think Captain's Nephew is going to do both of those things. And I think 11-1 with Boylesports is a big price about Captain's Nephew.
Yeah, so it's an absolute cracking race to look forward to. There is no doubt about that. We've 2 more races to come. And don't forget to enter your 5-cat selections. And, of course, as well, Barry, before we head into the ad break, we've got a competition this week.
Yeah, we certainly do. And all you have to do is put your 5-cast in for the Dublin Racing Festival to be able to chance of winning 2 tickets to the festival itself. And of course, the tickets will be on Sunday of the festival. So an opportunity perhaps to see Lossiemouth absolutely thump Stapeman on Sunday afternoon in the Irish Champion Hurdle. Fingers crossed. We have the Lossiemouth attire, Dave. We're going to head for our very first ad break on the show. And when we come back, we're going to hear from the man behind the wire, as they say, at Gowran Park, Eddie Scally, ahead of what should be a fantastic day once again on Red Mills Chase Day.
Boylesports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
Yes, and what a day it was, of course, on Goffs Thyestes Day. Delighted to be joined on the Champ.ie podcast by Eddie Scally, of course, racecourse manager at Gowran Park. And Eddie, of course, all systems go now for Red Mills Day, of course, which is upcoming on Saturday, the 15th of course, February. But quick recap on Thyestes Day. You were very pleased.
Yeah, look, Barry, it was a super day. You were down here yourself, and Dave, you were here on the day as well. So it was a great day, you know. We were very lucky as well, and we know that too, you know, with the Storm 1 kind of hit the next day as well. So we were blessed that we got it off before that, you know, and I obviously feel terrible for everybody that's had it tougher with Storm 1, but from our perspective, we got that big day out of the way. There was no damage here on the day after, and it was a very successul Goffs Thyestes Day, and we look forward to next year again already.
It was the calm before the storm. We had the weather ready, of course. We had a 10th winner in the race in the Goffs Thyestes Chase for Willie Mullins, with a local winner, Nick Rocket, went off a sharp price. A double for Declan Queally, of course, a local trainer in the southeast, making strides, who we'll hear from later on this episode of Champ.ie. And always a good story on Goffs Thyestes Day, and so there was plenty of them, including Mickey Joe Hart in the tent.
Yeah, look, it was more kind of that type of stuff as well. The Nick Rocket story was lovely. In fairness to the winning connections, you know, his late wife, of course, was a Ballyellen woman, kind of Gore's Bridge area, which is just beside us here on the track. So it was brilliant to have that type of a narrative. And then Declan Queally, as you rightly say, you know, that was a brilliant story as well. He's a real trainer to keep an eye on. I know you have him on the show during the week. You had him on the Cheltenham show. He's a fabulous fella. So, you know, best wishes to him as well for the future on it. And as you said, the party kicked off good and strong. After racing as well, Mickey Joe went down a storm, as did After Dark and all the other entertainment. So I'm glad everybody enjoyed themselves.
And you never know who you might run into, I suppose, on Goffs Thyestes Day. I sent you a picture afterwards. I didn't quite make it down on time to Mickey Joe Hart, because I ran into Christian Williams up in the Gowran Park bar. And we know he likes a good staying handicap chase. Maybe he was scouting for next year, Eddie.
Yeah, I've seen Christian the last couple of years. He's been over to it. I haven't had a chance to collar him, but I think I'm going to give him a buzz in the next couple of weeks and invite him. I'd love to see him having a runner over here. You know, he's a real popular trainer. He's good crack, and he seems to love Thyestes Day. And he was down, I think, in the Bacchanalian afterwards, Barry. I don't think he needs any encouragement to have a bit of crack either.
Enjoyed the steak. Right, let's build up to, of course, Red Mills Day, which is on the horizon, Eddie. And as we mentioned, the 15th of February. Tell us about the tickets. I believe there's been a big uptake so far.
Yeah, look, we released the first batch of tickets on Monday morning. And there was a huge demand for them. It was the first time we've ever had to put a queuing system on the website for the tickets. So quite similar to your Ticketmaster thing, you were counted in for 4 or 5 minutes while you were in a queue, which is brilliant to see that people, you know, want to get the value and obviously come here and enjoy a big day. But all them tickets were taken up by lunchtime on Monday, which is really, it's phenomenal actually. So what we're doing is we're releasing a second batch of tickets tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. That's Friday morning at 9 a.m. So, you know, the batch of tickets that we release tomorrow, I don't think it'll get us through the whole day tomorrow, but like, it is what it is. There's only so many tickets we can put out, Barry. In fairness to Connolly's Red Mills, our sponsors, they've been very good, completely sponsoring the gate. So, I mean, if you're looking for a good value day out, it's totally complimentary once you go online on gowranpark.ie and download your tickets. So, I mean, there's no excuse to not come here and have a brilliant day's racing.
Tell us at the moment, Eddie, what the I suppose the running order is looking like on the day.
Yeah, look, you've 7 very good races at the moment. I don't envisage a divide. You've a couple of brilliant races, the Chase and the Hurdle. Be interesting to see. I think the Red Mills Chase could be a real pointer this year for a Gold Cup. You could potentially catch somebody like a Jerry Calam or a Corbett's Cross turning up on the day. So fingers crossed that will be the case. And then off track, Connolly's Red Mills are doing a full-on Ladies' Day event as well. They've kind of lady awards, kind of different things, best hat, best coat, kind of most appropriately dressed side of things. And then off track, again, as you know, we always do, before racing, we'll have the Champ.ie podcast coming live from here with their tipster show for about a half an hour beforehand. And then we've an absolute feast of entertainment from Big Phil in Blinkers Bar, Dan the Man on the rooftop, on the balcony bar with Kriya, and straight after racing again, after dark, we're going to be playing in the O'Driscoll's party marquee. So I think it'll be another banging day at Gowran Park. It'll be brilliant crack, and it should set us all up for Cheltenham from there.
And I think it's probably fair to say it's one of the last big trials, isn't it, for the Cheltenham Festival? We've seen it time and time again. Winners on Red Mills Day going to the Cheltenham Festival. The list goes on. But I suppose those planning on making the trip that are not from the southeast, maybe those coming from overseas, tell us about, I suppose, the racetrack and how it links up with Kilkenny, the city, and I suppose restaurants, bars, places you'd recommend, I suppose, on the day itself.
Yeah, well, look, anyone that's coming here from the Kilkenny side of things, we obviously run the bus services from Kilkenny Castle Gates. The return bus from Kilkenny Castle to Gowran Park is €10 on Red Mills Day. We obviously have a single bus for back into the city after racing as well. It's €5 on the day in there. So, that's really the only cost you'll incur on Red Mills Day, other than whatever you decide to do socially, whether it's having a punt or having a drink. But Kilkenny itself, it's an absolutely brilliant city, Barry. It's Valentine's weekend that weekend, so you'll have the likes of your Langton House Hotel, Pembroke Hotel, Lyra, all big sponsors and supporters of us here in Gowran Park. But there's a world of restaurants in Kilkenny City as well, from Zuni to Rinuccini's to the Italian Connection. There's no shortage of things to do. And I think on a weekend like Redmond's weekend, falling on Valentine's weekend, Kilkenny City will be buzzing that weekend. There's no rugby clashing with us. The Irish team are off that weekend. So I think it's an ideal date. It falls lovely for us this year that we're not clashing with an England rugby match or a Scotland game, and people are able to come down and enjoy themselves. But Kilkenny, genuinely, I would really recommend anyone coming from overseas or coming from down the country, if you can at all, to get into Kilkenny City. It's an absolutely brilliant spot, and it's only 12 minutes, I think 13 minutes on the bus after racing back into the city, and you're straight into the party as well.
And that is exactly what it's going to be, as a big party. Rinuccini's, big shout out to Riccardo's there. Glad you mentioned Rinuccini's, the best Italian, Eddie, in the whole of the island of Ireland. Absolutely love it down there. Right, okay, Eddie, we'll catch up soon. I wish you all the best with the next release of the tickets, the next batch of tickets, of course, on Friday morning. Anything else to mention before we let you go?
No, listen, look, just best of luck anyone going up to the Dublin Racing Festival this weekend. I hope they all have a brilliant time and I get lots of winners as well. And best of luck to Tim and all the team up in Leopardstown for the weekend ahead.
Must ask, Eddie, just finally before we do let you go, because we're going to discuss it later on the show. Rocky's Diamond, the Galmoy hurdle winner. Speaking off air earlier on, you were quite impressed with how well he done it, and he is a contender now, surely, for the Stairs. Yeah,
look, the only thing, I was really impressed because he's a 5-year-old. It was probably nicer ground than what you'd have traditionally on Thyestes Day, so it mightn't have been as much of a test as you would have seen in the past. But I was really impressed by Rocky's Diamond. The clock suggests it was a good run by Rocky's Diamond. He goes to Cheltenham now. He definitely goes to Cheltenham as a live contender for it. But I think on top of that as well is I can't stress it enough, he is a 5-year-old. What type of improvement can they get from here to Cheltenham? That's what's going to be interesting. If there's another 15-20% of an improvement there, he's going to be right there pitching at the end against Jupu. And it's, you know what, for the Galmoy hurdle, for the John Munhart Galmoy hurdle in the class, that with a bit of luck, we'll have 2 Galmoy hurdle winners tearing up the hill at Cheltenham against each other, and the Gowran Park form will definitely win out.
Yes, welcome back to the next part of the show, where we look at the final 2 races in this week's 5-cast selections. And the fourth of those 5 races is the 2 mile 5 O'Driscoll handicap chase. It's a grade 3, David Jennings, the 2:45 on Sunday.
Yeah, real interesting race, Dave. I think these handicaps, because a lot of the grade 1s are kind of Willie Mullins, short enough prices, it's a recurrent team, and then you get to one of these handicaps and your appetite is increased, because you're like, oh, I can actually, it's fairly, it's fairly open, and it's 5 or 6 to 1 the field. So I think that's what makes it quite interesting. Obviously, we don't have the final decks yet. A couple of very interesting horses in here. Back to Normal for Gavin Cromwell. Off a mark of 130, could be really well handicapped. Ran over 2 miles last time when it was beaten by that giant horse of Gowran O'Loughlin's. But I thought he actually shaped quite well over a trip that was too short, and stayed on quite nicely, wasn't absolutely knocked about. So if this is the plan for Back to Normal, and you never know, maybe it could be. If you remember in this race last year, Hartwood won the race, but Whether Hartwood would have won the race or not, I don't know, because Percival Galwa came down at the last, so would have been very interesting. So Gavin Cromwell does target these big handicaps with his horses, and if this is the plan for Back to Normal, I think off a mark for 130, he is the most interesting of them. I'm going to give a shout out to my old buddy, old pal, who I'd say I've tipped every single time he's ran over fences, and he's yet to win over fences, and he's at 10 runs. Chantreuse for Henry de Bromhead. This horse just absolutely wrecks my head, because I think he does have a lot more ability than his mark lets on. He only got as far as the first, I think, at Limerick last time in the Tim Duggan, where he was quite well back that day from double figures down to 15-2. And the time before at Punchestown, the race was kind of there for him, and he just didn't really go through it, as I thought. But there are some pieces of form where I think he is very well handicapped. And, he's bumped into some good horses throughout his career. 4 to Jerry Colomb in a beginner's chase at Fairyhouse a couple of years ago, where he shaped really promisingly, was in front of good horses that day. He's just a bit of, one of these kind of horses that you just can't get out of your system. And you're like, one of these days he's going to pop up. But he just never pops up. Maybe it'll be this day. I don't know. He's 16-1. But as regards the most likely winner of the race, I think it is Back to Normal off a mark of 130.
Right, on the final race we look at is a 2-mile handicap hurdle. It's a listed contest. And Barry, going to come to you first time on this 350 on Sunday.
Yeah, I find it very hard to go against Paul Byrne owns Brave Troop. Of course, Paul got out the checkbook after, of course, making a back-to-back wins at Navan last time. And I thought he won like a horse that had, 2 stone plus in hand. The way he jumped the last like a fresh horse, came up the hill at Navan. And I have to say I was very, very impressed. And look, he's got up 14 pounds for that victory at Navan last time. But right down the bottom of the way, it's 10 stone 2 if the ones at the top stay in here. I think he could be very well treated. And Charles Burns, of course, has won this particular contest 3 times in the last 7 years. So
I can see Brave Troop, why he would be so popular. And I was there at Navan that day. Look, he absolutely bolted up, to be honest with you. James Smith, at all stages of the race, had everything under control. I'd be surprised if he didn't keep the ride as well, because he takes off a valuable claim here. And off mark 125, he went up a stone for that win at Navan. But it was kind of effortless. It looked at one stage like those up front had got away, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, actually he's going to bolt up, and you're like, it was blatantly obvious. 13-8. How did I not back it? That was that kind of a scenario. I'm going to give a shout out to one though at a bigger price. He's a horse that I do think is well handicapped, and he's a horse that definitely just needs his first run. It's Batman Girac for Willie Mullins. He's rated 129, and I do think he's got scope for improvement off that, because he ran off 133 in the Boodles last year. And look, he hasn't lived up to expectations, but there's just a couple of snippets of form that make him quite interesting. If you go back to St. Stephen's Day of 2023, he finished 4th at Calaconte and stayed on real eye-catchingly that day. Cargisi was just ahead of him. Nürburgring was 3rd, and he had the likes of Carafon behind him. So I thought it was a real good run. He's one of these horses that does everything wrong. He's real fizzy in his races. He doesn't race properly, but he has got a lot of ability, and he's got more ability than the mark of 129 suggests. And it just could be one of these races where, a not obvious contender from Clive Sutton pops up. And he's just been on my radar. If they go fast and he gets into any kind of sort of a rhythm, I do think Batman Girac is well handicapped off mark of 129.
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. And those 5 races, of course, don't forget you out there to get your selections in on our 5-cast races. And of course, we have a cracking weekend to look forward to. Right, we're heading into our next ad break. And right after this, we shall hear from our very special guest this week, Declan Queally.
Yes, so hello, Barry Doyle for the Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's Pony Horse Racing podcast. I'm here with my co-host, David Burns, and we're here in Sligo Town, David, in EJ Menswear, and EJMenswear.com. Fantastic season ahead. EJ has kindly partnered up with us to be the men's fashion partner with Champ.ie for the season. And David, we're suited and booted. You're looking sharp.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. And this fantastic bundle and this outfit we're wearing is costing $2.99. It sets you up beautifully for the racing season ahead, which includes Leopardstown at Christmas, Thyestes Day at Gowran Park, and of course, if you want to go even bigger, you can get togged out for the Cheltenham and entry festivals later on in the season.
Absolutely, and of course, check out the Champ.ie podcast right throughout the season, Mondays and Thursdays, and look at the offer, a tailored bundle for the racing season, $2.99, blazer, shirt, chino, socks and shoes. What's not to like, lads? Check out EJMenswear.com to find out all the racing offers. Yes, and delighted to welcome to the Champ.ie podcast, County Waterford's base trainer, Declan Queally. Declan, a very warm welcome to the show. I suppose trainers very much in the limelight at the moment. You have to be top of the list, 33% strike rate, a double on Goffs Thyestes Day, of course, local trainer to the south in the southeast of Ireland. So Gowran Park, I'm sure, was absolutely fantastic, Declan, to get a double on Goffs Thyestes Day.
Oh, stop. It was an absolute dream. As you said, like the Thyestes, massive thing for, say, the south of Ireland, say, along with, say, the Cork National, Munster National, them kind of races. And the Thyestes, prestigious race, had Rocky going up there and the filly in the bumper. Had been kind of planning it after Leopardstown with Rocky, that we definitely wanted to go there with him, being such a big day in the south. And we were keeping an eye on the bumper too. And say to have that kind of a day on that kind of a day for a meeting like that, going up there dreaming and for it to work out was absolutely dream stuff for all of us all in the yard. So my father, mother, myself, all the lads in the yard, and for the owners as well. It was a dream come true. The amount of text messages I got that evening from all the other owners and neighbours, and it was absolutely brilliant.
And I suppose it is a very much a family-orientated business. So you train just outside Kappa in County Waterford. And I suppose this, Declan, would it be right in saying this is your 8th full year training on the track?
Yeah, I'm training now with 8 years, and it's gone pretty well. Started off with a very small number of horses. I was still riding competitively in Point of Points. Went up to sales, so just bought a horse and got a chancy horse or two, and it kind of aspired from there, and bumped into the likes of Carrigmoornaspruce early enough. He was a good horse, and sold a couple of horses early, then made a few quid, and it's just looked snowball effect, kind of get new owners on board. And then I kind of started to scale down the ride and concentrate more on training, and look, it's gone pretty well, to be fair.
Look, let's just look at the numbers first of all, Declan, because 8 years, over the past 8 years, 106 winners on the track. You mentioned close to 100 point-to-point winners, and in terms of track prize money, 1.5 million, over 1.5 million total prize money for your owners. So you have to say the training career has really took off for you, and now to have a horse such as Rocky's Diamond to fly the flag, 3 from 6 now over hurdles, and a Galmoy winner to go to war with now in the spring.
Oh, sure, look, it's unbelievable. Like, as I was saying there, I suppose, yeah, I kind of started out with the view to selling horses. That's what I kind of wanted to do when I was riding in Point of Points. Like, like I'd idolise the likes of Colin Bowe and Dennis Murphy, and, the likes of Derek and Jamie in the selling game when I had ridden so many 4-year-old winners and so many winners in Point of Points. And I was selling a lot of horses, and the last couple of years, I had been still selling a lot, but maybe look, the model, I just felt maybe the English buyers weren't in love with maybe buying off us the last year or two, that they were seeing us more as track trainers. And I kind of was keeping a close eye on it, and I said, right, maybe we need to change the model here a little bit. And I was concentrating more on, say, getting owners into the yard and maybe keeping some of the horses. So look, I've been building a kind of a team of horses in the last, say, year and a half, and not selling as many, and I'm going down more track trainer road now, and I think I finalized what I want to do. I want to be a track trainer, and I'm going to stick with that.
We might talk about your riding career in a moment as well, because not only did you have a double from a training perspective at Gowran Park, you also rode the bumper winner, and also the Dublin Racing Festival on the horizon as well. We're going to talk about Carrigmoornaspruce, who's entered up, of course, in the graded Mayor's Bumper on Sunday afternoon. But I suppose, look, first and foremost, Rocky's Diamond, I really wanted to touch upon this start for the yard. 3 from 6 over hurdles, 16-1 now for the stairs hurdle. Seems to be really improving.
Yeah, he's a funny horse, because he's just there in the yard, and nobody ever really got too excited about him. His nickname is Al, and his work was nice last year, and he does things easily. He wouldn't blow you away or anything, but he's great wind, and he's very genuine, I think, is very important, and he gives everything on the day, but he's cool and he's calm and relaxed at home, but he obviously brings his A game to the track. But I suppose he did plenty as a forward. He won a maiden hurdle 30 grand handicap, and as he's turned 5, he seems to be kind of improving more than what my eye has seen. So like, he's rated 149 now. It's a fair belt of a rating for a 5-year-old horse. So like, when I be looking in the stable door in the morning, tacking him up, you be kind of looking at him saying, geez, you're rated 150, like, but he is anyway, and he's able to bring it to the races. And like, I'm not taking it lightly. Like, it's great to have a horse like him, because I know myself, even from riding over the years, like to bump into a horse of that quality, it's a big thing, and I'm not taking it for granted. I stop every morning and have a look in at him, because it's hard to get horses of his quality.
I suppose turning for home, we were just speaking on the Monday show, Declan, and looking at the performance. I mean, he was there to be shot at turning in, and he kept finding it, didn't he?
He was like, the race actually didn't really go that well. We would have liked to gallop and to sit in and something to aim at, but it was very muddly race. They didn't go mad, and I was saying to Shane I wanted to be a little bit closer, and he sat a bit close, and he was actually a little bit free in his hands, but then Shane used his initiative and he kicked on there with a lap to go, and he winged the last 3 hurdles. He's a great jumper, he's got great scope, and even for the horse to be able to go on for the last circuit, being that young, and then fine for pressure, like after everything kind of going half wrong, he did very well to dig himself out of a hole and still win snug in the line. So like, if they go a gallop in Cheltenham, and he's able to sit in there 5th or 6th and settle, there's no doubt about it. I'm not saying he's going to win or anything, but like, he'll be coming up the hill strong there, hopefully in 3rd or 4th place. It would be lovely to think that he could run into a place that would be the dream, like going over there. So like, look, it's 6-7 weeks now. He's had a nice week in the field. I brought him in out of the field there this evening. He's in good spirits. There's not a bother on him. So we just start building now, nice and slowly, a nice rhythm of work, and be get his big work in, say, in 3-4 weeks time, and then be freshening him up then close to the race. So look, it's a big challenge for all of us in the yard. But look, I'm looking forward to it anyway.
Talk to us about his strengths. What do you think is Rocky's Diamond's biggest strength heading to the festival?
His strength is his staying ability. He's cool. I don't think travelling over or any of that is going to affect him. He's only 5, but if you walked into him in the stable, he's standing there like a 10-year-old that's been running in open lightweights for the last 4 years. He's just so laid back. Nothing phases him. I don't think the crowds or anything, none of that's going to affect him. He's great wind. He when this horse works hard, he doesn't blow after his work, and he's a very cool customer, and he's obviously got an awful lot of natural abilities. So look, I think a gallop would be nice, all right, because he does stay very well. He's a relentless galloper, and he doesn't stop galloping. So if it's a tough race and there's horses starting to cry wolf at the top of the hill, that's where I think we'll come into our own.
So the Dublin Racing Festival, Declan, of course, is on the horizon. 5 entries for the Dublin Racing Festival up in Leopardstown, including Carrigmoornaspruce. Talk us through what you've got entered up this weekend. Carrigmoornaspruce, our only runner on the Sunday. Beautiful filly, top class pedigree. Dam's sister to Shantou Flyer, Miss McVeil, all a whole host of graded horses. So like, she didn't lick it off a stone. She's speedy, she's well behaved, and she's got plenty of class. So the boys, Tom McCarthy, Michael Beale, they own her. They have a great relationship with my father. All 3 times the fillies ran, they've just arrived to the race. It's nice and cool. Tip away out the back, let her come home. Nice. There's no pressure. We want to brood her down the road. Twice she's won, and she's a lovely runless Doyle as well. So look, we'll be going up there with a nice relaxed attitude as well, for maybe tipping away 3/4 way through the field and coming home strong. I'm happy with her work. I worked her on Tuesday morning. Rode her myself down in Carrigmoor in Portlaw. Came up the hill very well. So look, she's fit, she's fresh, and looking forward to the challenge. Willie's filly, John Magnus mare, looks very decent. She won a point.
Tom Cooper's mare beat us in Listowel. Obviously, we've improved. She's probably improved as well. Again, Tom, no stranger to the big day. He'll have her fairly wound up for that. So, like, look, there's looks to be 3-4 pretty good fillies going up there. Willie Munn's probably going to run 4 or 5. So, look, it'll be all to play for. But, like, there's plenty of people talking about the race already. Number one, with us having our filly in it, and say Tom's filly, and then Willie with a fleet of them. So it's going to be a great race. And I was talking to actually one of the lads in Tom Cooper's this morning on Snapchat, and he sent me a picture of Kate Men, and I was saying, geez, it's going to be some race. And he's like, oh, class lad. Like, so look, whatever wins it is obviously going to be a very good filly. But again, you don't know what fillies, some of them don't turn up today. But look, hopefully we'll have a bit of luck.
You mentioned the men, Kate. Carrigmoornaspruce, obviously, at Listowel was doing her best work at the finish, like she done on her most recent 2 starts as well. Really hit the line hard, of course, at Leopardstown last time, Declan. And the question for you is, how much do you think she improved since she last faced Amen Kate in Listowel?
I think she's improved a lot. She was only in, I think, 7 weeks when we went to Listowel. We were talking about going for a schooling race. Tom and Michael are in their 70s and 80s. I said, look, will we go down and run her, have a day out at the Listowel Festival? And they said, do that. There's no one going to die or anything, just go down and let her run away. So it worked out nicely. She's obviously a lot better filly now. She's a lot more streetwise. She'd done no grass gallop around before she went to Listowel. But, like, I'm not saying we're going to turn her around with Kate Men. She's a very good filly with a serious filly's pedigree. And the Coopers are going to have her wound up. But look, again, we'll be looking forward to the challenge, and we'll be going up there with all guns blazing. So hopefully we'll come out on the right end of it. But I wouldn't be counting my chickens now.
Talk to us about Carrigmoorna Beach, because obviously it's a relative. Won at Gowran Park in the bumper very impressively.
So again, she's a sister to Carrigmoornaspruce out of the Beat Hollow mare. So, and they're also a sister to Carrigmoorna a mare that Willie Mullins won a bumper and a maiden hurdle with. So it's a brilliant pedigree. She's a more robust, tougher type of filly. She eats better, takes more work. She again came down from Michael's and Tom's, I think it was around the 3rd week of September, and we kind of proceeded forward with her, and she seemed to thrive on galloping and work, and we got one grass gallop into her, and she did plenty of work down in Portlaw again in Carrigmoor. And I spoke to my father kind of 2-3 weeks before Gowran, and I said, this one I nearly run the 4-run race in Gowran, and he was kind of looking at me, checking was I feeling all right. And I said, Jesus, like, she's going well, like she can run there. So he said, sure, proceed forward. And we worked her another once or twice, and look, she was ready to go and put in a great performance on the day. I don't know how strong a race it was. There was no form to go on, but look, she did it on the day. She galloped the whole way to the line, and I was thrilled with her.
Anything in mind? Anything on the horizon for her?
No, like, she's only 4, and you have to be careful with them fillies, like, because number one, she's very genuine, and she gave everything on the day. And when she pulled up afterwards, if you watch, she stopped to a walk very quick. So you need to be careful with them. She gave everything, and probably not even knowing what race it was, might have even gave a little bit too much. So she was leg weary after it, but you'd always like that she gave everything. So I'd be very careful now about going back to the well too soon. But I left her out in the field, say, for the week after the race, and we left her out yesterday morning with a couple of the other horses that had been running, so I'll sort that and that. She galloped off down the field and was bucking. So of them horses that ran, even though she's only 4, she seems the freshest afterwards. So she's a hardy lady, but probably more of a staying filly down the road. She's kind of more workmanlike and a stayer. So who knows? Look, she has to have a bit of luck as well. The sire is a very good sire, Blue Brazil from Rathbarry, but she could be a good, maybe graded chaser down the road, but I think she'd be more of a stayer than Carrigmoornaspruce. But obviously, they're both different. They're both individuals, but they're 2 very good fillies.
Other entries, obviously, this Saturday, we have Mozzie's sister entered up for the Declan Queally stable. And the other entries on Saturday, talk us through them, Declan.
Yeah, Mozzie ran in Limerick in the Grade 2, the Jaguar race. Was second behind Henry de Brahma's filly, the Westerner filly, the big Westerner. So, yeah, look, good run. We dropped her in. Missed a couple of hurdles up the back of the crucial stage. Missed the second last as well and the last, which wouldn't be like her. She usually jumps well, but maybe just, I think the race wasn't ran at a massive speed and they were quickening down the straight and she just happened to miss them 2 hurdles, but she galloped very strong at the line. It was a hell of a run. We spoke to Pat O'Donovan and the syndicate afterwards, and we said, being a syndicate and that, they said, right, look, just plan the Grade 1 in Leopardstown and go for it. Enter up, and all the lads are booked up to go. There's 10 of them. They're bringing wives, kids, uncles, aunts. They're all going. There's going to be a massive crowd in the parade ring beforehand. She's fit. She's fresh. I had her at the beach yesterday. She's ready to go. I think we'll ride her a little bit handier. She'll probably see her hurdles a little bit better. She stays well. So she'll be up in the van on Saturday, and I'll be expecting her to run a big race. Whether she can win or not, I don't know, but she always gives her all. She's very genuine. And look, if she can be in the money, it'll be a great thrill for the syndicate.
The other one to mention, Bacchanalian has entered up in the juvenile race, 150 on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm checking the weather every hour. I see there's rain coming Thursday night now and maybe Friday night. He's 17 hands. He's a big hardy buck. Carries plenty of weight. Well able for work. He loves soft ground, heavy ground. If the ground comes up soft to heavy, then flat juveniles are going to be very vulnerable to a horse like him because he's a plough and he's going to relish the conditions if it comes up gluey or sticky. I'm not saying that he's a good enough horse for them races, but if things just did get a little bit messy and a lot of them didn't handle the ground, this horse could be there picking up the pieces and maybe run into hopefully third or fourth or maybe second or something. But heavy ground would be a big help. That's why people were saying, why you run them in that? You're not going to go for the Boodles, or you've got a lovely mark. If the ground comes up good in Cheltenham, I could be kicking myself. Why didn't you run Leopardstown sticky ground? There was only 7 runners. A lot of them got tired. So that's the reason for that.
Sounds like if the rain comes, you're confident of a big run with him.
Oh yeah, he's a very good horse to work. His work in Portlaw in Carrigmoor on the gallops is second to none. He's a very good horse. And if the ground comes up heavy, them more flatbred horses will be vulnerable against him because he's an animal. Like he's 17 hands and he's got enormous strength. So he'll be coming home well if things are tough.
A tip for gold runs in the listed handicap hurdle, does it? It's entered 16-1 currently with the bookmakers.
Yeah, he worked Monday morning. Dylan rode him. He works well. Philip Donovan rides him. Philip's in his late 20s. Very good value for a £5 claim. Very underrated rider. Kind of rides down around the south for Dennis Hogan, them kind of trainers. He's a steal for 5. The horse is running off 125, so he'll be running off a mark of 120 with Philip's 5. He's working better than a 120 horse, so I'd be expecting to put in a good show. He's got some very decent bumper form from Mags Mullins. I spoke to actually Danny at the start in Shamor. I was riding in a race against him, and I spoke to him about the horse. And he said the last day in Punchestown, things didn't really work out. He was a little bit keen early, didn't have much cover, and it was his first run over the timber hurdles, and he backed off him a little. We've been doing a bit of schooling with him by home, so we'll ride him with patience, cover him up, and I think with the way he's working, he'll be coming home well.
From Dundalk to Longchamp, from the Galway races to the Breeders' Cup, Shamrock Thoroughbreds have taken owners all over the world.
Igabell in front. holds them. Late on the scene is Dawn Charger storming home, but Tiger Bell in front and one.
Coming through in the centre, Laugh a Minute with a strong challenge, and it's Laugh a Minute who goes on in the closing stages to win by a length and a half. Laugh a Minute from Fiscal Roots.
But it's Harry's Bar repelling the late challenge of the stable companion Dream Today, and Harry's Bar makes it 6 course wins.
Check out shamrockthoroughbreds.com or click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description to learn more about new racehorse ownership opportunities.
It was great to hear from Declan Queally there as well, Barry. He's some big chances. And David and Barry, I suppose. David, firstly, Declan's horses are absolutely flying, aren't they?
What an operator, yeah. Just a real, gets the game, gets like, I think it's testament to a trainer's ability, you know, when he brings off a gamble or one of his is fancied. Like the real pro punters give him like so much respect. Like they really do. If they see money for one of his, they just won't back against him. Like he's a real shrewd operator, and he's kind of got a team together now where he's added real quality to it. And I think that's the next step for Declan now, is to add the quality, you know, be represented in these greater races. And his reputation is soaring. His reputation is only going one way. Like in this game, especially in my job as a journalist, you're talking about trainers all the time. When the name Declan Queally pops up, it's always extremely positive. You know, that man knows what he's at. He's shrewd. And as you well know, it's hard to get recognition in this game, but Declan is starting to get it.
He certainly is, isn't he, Barry?
Yeah, it certainly is. And I suppose just look at his entries this weekend and, you know, the runners that he has in the graded races as well. Really looking forward to that Mayor's list, or Grade 2 bumper, of course, on the Sunday at the Dublin Racing Festival. And I get the sense that he's, you know, quietly confident about Carrigmoornaspruce, you know, reversing the form with him in Kate. She has had 2 runs since running into him in Kate down in the stole, and she's come forward plenty. He said to me off air she was only in about 7 weeks prior to that run at the stole, so there could be a lot more to come from her. And yeah, this is the target, because speaking about Cheltenham afterwards, I mean, you know, he has one day in mind, and that's Sunday with Carrigmoornaspruce. But the selling operation, just was interesting listening to Declan talking about, you know, obviously his focus was very much point to point selling horses. Now it's, you know, the shift towards the track horses, and a double on Goffs Thyestes Day. Rocky's Diamond winning, obviously, and Carrigmoorna, of course, in the bumper as well, pulled off a right old gamble as well. There was some money for that on the day, and as David mentioned, he's good at it, you know. So you're going to be hearing a lot more of him.
Yeah, and just on that Rocky's Diamond, David Jennings, while we have you, could he be a player for the Stayers in Cheltenham?
See, it's a strange one with Rocky's Diamond. Like how many 5-year-olds have actually ran in the Stayers hurdle? Like, it's remarkable. And as Johnny Deneen said to me and up in the ante the other day, like he kind of was like, what is this Rocky's Diamond when the race came up? Like, you kind of go, this is the horse that ran in a handicap hurdle the other day. And, you know, he's just made giant strides very, very quickly. And I think when you've got a horse like him who's so keen and kind of took off in the mid part of the race, that saw out the trip really well. And on Thyestes Day at Gowran, if you stay the Galmoy trip, now I know they crawled for the first half of the race, you know you've got a proper stayer. Could he beat Teahupoo? No. Could he be placed? He definitely could, yeah. He's going to be around that stay and hurdle division for quite a while.
If Teahupoo didn't show up, Dave, if Teahupoo didn't show up and give us best running, I mean, it's a wide open Stayers hurdle, and he's one that's, you know, very much on the improve. You mentioned he's just 5 years of age. I actually would genuinely give him a life, because what he done, he was there to be shot at Gowran Park. Turning, you mentioned they went to crawl. He was up there, I suppose, on the pace. He stayed there, and what he done, I thought he would have the shades snug in the end. You know, from 50 yards to the line, I thought it was quite easy for him, to be honest.
He did, and you know what? Those 3 mile hurdlers, like, they're a box of frogs, aren't they? They could just do anything at any time. Like, you never know what you're going to get. Like, it's a complete bag of tricks, those 3 mile hurdlers. Like, even you look at Sander Clegane there, who jumped brilliant and travelled well, and like, you're just like, what is Sander Clegane now? I don't know what he is. Like, I don't know if he's a stayer. I don't know if he needs 2.5 miles. And I think when you go through the English crop as well, like, they just run differently every day. Look at Strong Leader, who looked like he was definitely the main challenger at the start of the season. Now he's ran 2 utterly bizarre races, and you're like, what the hell is he? Like, you just don't know. Look, he plays as a horse that's kind of come from nowhere for Nicky Henderson, who looks like he potentially can take it to the next level as a stayer. But that's with Rocky's Diamond. You know he stays. You know he's 5, so he's getting better. So I could certainly see why people would be giving him an outside chance in the Stayers hurdle. I don't think he'll win it myself. I don't think he's good enough to win a Stayers hurdle.
There's very much intrigue with Rocky's Diamond, just on for me, Dave, like if you look at a Willie Mullins horse, you know, stepping out in novice company, for example, you know, they've probably had 3 or 4 runs in bumpers. They've probably had 4 or 5 runs as a novice hurdler. Rocky's Diamond, it's very intriguing that he'll just be having his 7th run as a 5-year-old in the stairs. It adds, definitely, it's an interesting question. How far can this horse improve in such a short space of time this year?
Yeah, he actually reminds me a little bit of Flooring Porter. In that Flooring Porter, I think, won his handicap hurdle at Gowran Park as well, off a low mark, way lower, I think, than Rocky's Diamond. But when Rocky's Diamond won his handicap hurdle at Gowran Park in October, I think it was off a mark of 123. And like, he only just about beat Happy Jackie that day as well. And I think when he ran at Leopardstown, he was, what price, 66 to 1. You're kind of like, this is ridiculous from Declan. But then you're kind of saying to yourself, Declan is no mug either. He wouldn't be throwing this horse in here if he didn't think he'd run reasonably well. And he did. He finished 3rd to, you know, a proper yardstick and home with the Lee and Bob Ollinger. So, and he's improved again to win a Gowran. I think he got a Racing Post rating of 149 for that. And I think he's rated 149 now as well. So he is probably the unknown quantity in the Stayers hurdle, in that how much improvement he's going to find from that run at Gowran, we don't know. I don't think he'll beat Tiupu, as I said. But I could certainly see him finishing the first 4 or 5, Barry.
Yeah, absolutely. Lads, what about the graded bumpers at the weekend at Leopardstown, Barry? I know we've heard from Declan and his chances, but anything else stand out of the rest this weekend?
I'm shocked that Calypso chanced. I don't know why. I didn't see why, but he's not going to the bumper on Saturday, because I would have made him, you know, pretty much one of the bankers of the entire weekend. Carrigmoornaspruce is the one I'm genuinely most interested in the Mayor's bumper. I think there's every chance it could reverse form with a main Kate. She has the course form. What she does in the final furlong of her race is incredible. The last twice now, she hits the line so hard. There'll be plenty of pace on here. Declan will be able to, you know, settle her in behind once again, come home strongly. I think she'll be bang there. And future prospect, I think, is a nice mare. Obviously won nicely at Fairyhouse. And then Kate, I'd say, was pretty well drilled now for Listowel, where I think there's a lot more to come from, you know, a lot more improvement, shall we say, to come from Carrigmoornaspruce with that man Declan Queally, not just the trainer, but the jockey as well, Dave.
And for your thoughts on those bumpers, Dave?
Well, starting off with the one on Saturday for the Geldings, Calypso Chance is not in there, but I think He Can't Dance is a very good horse. Like, we spoke earlier about Final Demand's point form and how it hasn't worked out well. Like, He Can't Dance, when he won his point-to-point, he beat Meet Me by the Sea. Meet Me by the Sea has been an absolute revelation for Ben Pauling over the last couple of weeks. Won again. I think he's won 3 in a row. Won again at Doncaster the other day. Looks like he's going towards a 140 rated horse. He Can't Dance beat him fair and square that day at Monk's Grange. And last time at Navan, it was a messy race, I thought, for He Can't Dance. It was like he just lobbed along in front. He just did what he had to do. It wasn't overly attractive on the eye. The form isn't anything spectacular, but he still won quite convincingly. I think in a stronger run race, you're going to see a better He Can't Dance. And yeah, I think he is the most likely winner. Put it this way. Gordon Elliott has He Can't Dance, Classical Creek, and Cocktail Brute in here. He has 3 of the top 5 in the market, right? Harry Swan has the choice. Now, he did get it wrong with Calypso Chance the last day in Classical Creek, so he has got it wrong. But he obviously thinks He Can't Dance is the number 1. He's riding all the top bumper horses. So you basically have 3 of the top 5. That's 2 of them that he should be better than. Then you're into Green Splendor, who, I don't know what Green Splendor. He was okay at Christmas. He was kind of all out to win that race. I started a joke. The form has been franked since by Road Exile, but he only just about won and looked like he was beaten on the bob, I thought, that day. And then you're into Sartudo, who was beaten at Christmas as well. I think He Can't Dance at 7-2 is actually a good price.
Yeah, lovely. And just, I suppose, on looking at the races in England this weekend, disappointing the way the Scilly Isles, David, is broken up. It's only 4 runners at Sandown. But anything else across the weekend in the UK that you like?
Yeah, I thought the Scilly Isles, I know it'll get kind of lambasted, I suppose, for only having 4 runners, but it's still a fascinating race. I don't think it's as bad as people are saying. And I thought at the prices, Caliph de Burley, like Paul Nicholls had a shocking season, and you know, he needs something just to get him going. And I just wonder, will it be Caliph de Burley who is the one to get him going? I thought since that fall at Carlisle, I thought he did well to kind of get it out of the fire at Newbury. And last time at Cheltenham against Vincenzo, who has won since, I was kind of like, oh, this horse is actually what he's cracked up to be, because I thought he was quite impressive. He's getting weight. He's getting £4 from Handstands and Django Boy. And at the prices, I was surprised to see him as big as he is. If you're getting 7-2 about Caliph de Burley in what looks, to be honest, a 3-horse race, I think there's a little bit of value in that. Elsewhere on the card, it's actually a good card, I thought, at Sandown. I thought our old pal, David Maxwell, might win the 342, the handicap chase over 3 miles indoor. I have to say, I thought indoor was extremely impressive last time at Ascot. I thought it was a good ride as well. He had loads left in the tank the way he pinged the last. He's only gone up £8 for that. And I thought indoor would take a lot of beating that 342. I know it's David Maxwell and that's factored into the price, but I think he's got a big chance in that. Elsewhere on the card, what time is the race at? It's at 2 o'clock. It is the 1 mile 7 furlongs handicap chase. A real interesting race here. Martator is favourite at the moment for Phoenicia Williams and Charlie Deutsch, but I thought Etalon would be extremely hard to beat for Dan and Harry Skelton. Probably hasn't lived up to expectations so far. Got rid of Harry Skelton early enough in that race at Windsor behind Matata, but that could have been a blessing in disguise because Matata absolutely bolted up that day. I'd say off a mark of 135, I think Etalon is well handicapped. So they'd be my couple there. Etalon in the 2 o'clock at Sandown. I like Caliph de Burley in the 2:35 at Sandown, and indoor in the 3:42.
And Barry, anything stand out for you in the UK this weekend?
Well, I'm going to take Dave on in the City Isles, and you mentioned that the race only has 4 runners. I think the 3 of them that I give chances to are actually three enough decent animals. Django Bay, I thought, was absolutely brilliant on his chasing debut. I don't think there was probably a better chasing debut this season other than Sergino. Django Bay was brilliant at Cheltenham. I loved the shape he made over his fences, and I think he's the rightful favourite. But getting weight, I take David's point that Caliph de Burley certainly going to be a big contender. But Musselburgh at 3 o'clock on Sunday, he's entered up again. Hamasayan in the Pertemps qualifier for good old Harvey. And in the 3 o'clock, I thought, look, the top one, I'm not sure if Gala runs. That'll carry 12 stone if it does. But, if Supreme Gift runs in the race, he'll be less than 11 stone, Hamasayan. It'll need to win to guarantee itself to get into the Pertemps final and at least the qualifier course as well. But I just absolutely love the way it won at Cheltenham in the November meeting for Tony Martin. And Hamasayan, I think, is a very, very well handicapped horse. And 14-1, I think, for the Pertemps. I wouldn't put anyone off AntePost. And let's hope we see him at Musselburgh, because he's been entered up a couple of times. The ground, it doesn't appear to be all that much rain, David, but he will be one of my best bets of the weekend, Hamasayan.
Well, it's going to be a cracking weekend of racing. Now, gents, we come to the all-important part of the show for Naps and Next Best. And as our special guest, David Jennings, the floor is yours.
I'm gonna try and knock it out of the park. I'm going for a strike here with Captain's Nephew. I just think that 2 mile division is wide open over fences, and Captain's Nephew off mark of 131, as I explained earlier. Just thought he went after Rebel Gold quite early at Fairy House and paid the price in the closing stage. I think 11-1 each way. I think that's Cork and value on Captain's Nephew. So I'm going to go Captain's Nephew, the nap in that 4:05. And my next best is actually going to be against your beloved Majborough, Barry. I'm going to go with Il Atlantique in the 2:55. If you're getting 3-1 or slightly above that, I just think he's achieved more over fences than Majborough has, and yet he's quadruple the price of Majborough, which I think is wrong. I think people are judging him too much on his hurdles form. He has blown me away in both starts over fences. And, there's a little bit of a whiff of Allaho about him. Allaho was a disappointing hurdler, really. And we're always going back to his hurdle form in the early stages. But he was a different animal altogether over fences. I think Il Atlantique is the same. I think even when he steps up to 2.5 miles and 3 miles later in his career, I think he's going to be a real talent. So, yeah, my next best is Il Atlantique in that 2:55 at Leopardstown on Saturday. And as I said, my nap is in that 4:05. It's Captain's Nephew.
Yes, and I'm going to go with Hello Neighbour as my nap pick of the weekend. Barry, your nap and next best for the weekend racing.
Yes, Nap. I'm going to go with Final Demand. I think he'll absolutely bully them in the opener at Leopardstown this weekend and give Paul Townwood, get him off to a flyer. Willie Mullins, of course, has a good record in that Nathaniel Lacey. And I think Final Demand will make it 2 from 2 over hurdles. And I think a big player for that Turner's novice hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival. A little bit of Mullins bingo, but I think he's plenty of class. And I think the 2.5 mile race on the Wednesday at Cheltenham could be absolutely tailor-made for him. And Hamasayan, that'll be the next best. Should he run at Musselburgh? I think he needs to win. As I said, he needs to go up to something in the mid to late 120s to get into the Pertemps, based on previous history of the race, and he'll need to win, and I think he will on Sunday. That's Hamasayan for Tony Martin. And one of the
one thing I will say, Barry, is I completely agree with you on one thing. That horse that you said there, I've been dying to tip up in the ante for a race at the Cheltenham Festival, but I just didn't know what race he was going to go for. So to see him entered in the Pertemps is certainly suggests that he might be going in that direction. But a second thing, because you love him so much and because you've talked about him so much, I'm going to give you homework for the weekend, Barry, okay? I'm going to give you homework for the next 3 days. You got to learn how to pronounce the name of the horse properly. It's Hamasayan.
Hamasayan or Hamasayan. Which is it?
We're getting your INS mixed up, Barry.
I'll work with him for the next few days. It's all right. I'll work with him.
What way are we pronouncing it, lads? It's Hamasayan, is it? No?
Hamasayan.
Hamasayan. A1. Let's hope he gets the job done. I think he's still very well handicapped. And the other one to mention, lads, a tip for gold. Hooded for the first time, right down the bottom of the weights for Declan Queally. That man, Declan Queally, is priced up currently at 20 to 1. Philip Donovan on board, claiming £5 off. 11 stone 1 in the first of the handicaps on Dublin Racing Festival weekend. Race 3, 2:25 on Saturday. A tip for gold. Having its first start for the new stable. I think a good each way bet.
Lovely stuff. Well, David Jennings, as always, a pleasure to have you on with us here at Champ.ie. Barry, as always, great to have you running the show there. And, of course, the Dublin Racing Festival. It's centre stage this weekend. Enjoy it, and all the best from us here on Champ.ie.